Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Cheri.
And we are the Masked Memoirists. Welcome to a fairly unusual live video today. Cheri and I are in the basement of my house in Kansas City. It's on the market right now, and we are packing and sorting through the inventory for our personal chapters business. And this business has gone through a lot of changes. We've seen a lot of changes personally, a lot of changes on even a worldwide level that has made us have to reinvent ourselves numerous times. And so we're hoping that our current revisioning and reimagining is going to benefit you especially. We're going to try to be more attentive to needs of our clients and to what you all need to help capture the stories of your life. So Cheri, can you recall the days when we were envisioning this business upstairs in our pajamas, drinking tea?
Yeah, Anne was living in
talking
this
for
house.
Hours.
Yeah, she was living in this house, and I was living in another state, and just had this. We were making a trip. My husband and I were making a trip out here to check on a piece of property that we owned, and I just kept having this feeling that I needed to go see Anne. But I knew it wasn't going to be a short visit. So I called her up and said, can I come stay with you for a few days? Because, when good friends get together, you can't just have a 5-minute conversation necessarily. And we did. We were in our jammies for most of that time.
Oh, almost a whole day.
And we found out that we were doing the same thing in 2 different places, which we didn't know.
That's right. That's right. We both had a vision of helping people capture their personal history and it would result in books, possibly, or it would result in just a handwritten record. But in any case, it would result in people going inside themselves and seeing what was there and documenting the fabulous journey that we've all been on in this life that we're living, because we have lessons to tell our children, our grandchildren. So from that initial visioning session that we did, we started coming up with products. We did things exactly the wrong way. My son told me early on, don't get an inventory. Don't get things manufactured. You've got to create a demand for your products before you launch anything. But I'm stubborn.
But, we're both creative people, so when the wheels start turning, you have to go
gotta
with
manifest.
it, because if you don't, the ideas might go away. No,
that's right. So Cheri is very gifted in coming up with, what do you call it?
Oh, sourcing. I would say sourcing.
Sourcing.
We kind of play off each other for the ideas, and I do have a lot of ideas always. Too many probably. But I also, because of my background in working for my father's company for years, where part of what I did was source companies that could meet the needs of his customers. As we would talk, I would go, oh, I think I know a company who could make that for us.
So from that initial visioning, we started coming up with products like we wanted to make sure that people realized that their life is a treasure, and that treasure deserves a fitting container. So I went crazy at stationery stores, office supply stores, craft stores. I love these big, beautiful boxes, especially the graduated ones. So we came up with towers that would contain little artifacts of people's lives that they could just, have in a location that was central, and as they got things that they wanted to preserve, they could throw them in that box. So, and we put pretty ribbons on the boxes. We had binders that went in the boxes, and the binders have kind of been the core container of the writing system that Cheri and I developed. And the writing system takes your life through 5 different categories in terms of organization. We're both organization freaks. So,
Yeah.
that,
I own that.
except I get unorganized immediately. So anyway, we came up with a system of writing prompts that would take you in a DIY manner through your life and allow you to peel off a prompt, put it on a sheet of paper, and answer the question. We wanted to make sure that people realized that documenting your life, preserving your life stories, you don't have to be a writer to do that, even though both of us are. You do not have to be a writer to preserve the valuable lessons that you've learned in life. So,
and not everybody has the same
Exactly.
experiences, right? So that's why we did the peel off labels, because if you buy a book and it has a question on the top of the page or a writing prompt on the top of the page, and you go ahead and you start that and you get to a page where it doesn't apply to you, like, I don't know, maybe there's a question about, tell us about your divorce, and maybe you've been married for 55 years and never been divorced, or some odd question that just doesn't apply to your life, then what we found in my family is you don't want to write any further, because if you don't answer that question, sometimes the descendants might think, oh, that's a touchy subject for her, or, oh, she didn't want to talk about that. And so by having the peel off prompts, they don't know what you didn't answer.
That's right. You can just pick and choose. You don't have to answer every single prompt. We did quite a bit of research in what was out there for this kind of a business. And there are beautiful books like, Stories of My Father, Stories of My Grandfather. They're in these hardbound versions. And me personally, I would want to write in those books, but if there was a blank question, I sure wouldn't want to leave it unanswered, because it would leave a gaping hole in the book. So this is more of a versatile system that we came up with.
Yeah. And it's kind of a starting point too.
Right.
Because once you get some of your stories written based on the prompts, you can always go back and you can type them into a Word doc and move them around and make the order different or more, coherent in terms of the flow of the narrative. And so, we want to help you with that too. So this is kind of the starting point, is getting you writing or getting you recording. Whether you're going to do it by video or audio, you can do it that way too. So
Exactly. And we're joined today by Don McFarlane in North Bay, Ontario. Welcome, Don.
Yeah,
He
welcome.
was a high school classmate of mine, so glad to see everyone that is joining us today live. I'm surprised we can even transmit this from my basement, because our signal's probably not the best. But other things that we developed what we call a memoir in a flash, and that is a little flash drive that's kind of covered in our signature colors of brown with a lettering of aqua, and it just says My Memoir on it. And those are all packed away, or I would show you one.
don't make me dig them out.
Yeah, no kidding. So we had Memoir in a flash. We had Memoir in a dash, which we put in these aqua poly binders and put a label on the top of them. We had black as well. We had different kinds of binders, from this striped binder that we bought at Office Max and filled it with our dividers, which I showed you in a previous issue of Facebook Live. And then we came up with this. And we also had a friend of Cheri's, actually Cheri's cousin, helped us develop Memoir in a jar. And we really love this little product because it can be taken to nursing homes, and a question can be pulled out and used to prompt your loved one's memories. It can be used around the family dinner table during holidays or whenever.
Family reunions.
Or
you could just set it on your desk. And
Yeah.
it can be a game for you, and you just grab a blank piece of paper and write that prompt that day. Or if you don't want to write that one, you can pick a different one.
That's right. So we get all these products developed, and we decide, since I came from the newspaper industry, I was a newspaper publisher and editor for 27 years, by golly, we're going to go to the Missouri Press Association convention. So You should have seen Cheri and I. We loaded my van to the gills. There was no space in that van for anything else to be put.
Yeah.
We took it to Branson, Missouri, where the convention was being held. We were sure that was going to launch our business. Wrong.
Didn't happen.
Did not happen. We obviously didn't know our market demographic well enough. Newspaper publishers are busy people. They barely have time to get out their newspapers, let alone help people write their personal histories, or if they wanted to write their personal histories, they don't have time for that. We found that out the hard way, so we carted all our inventory back home and started from zero. So, and this is where a lot of it landed. So, now we are at the point where enter the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
well, wait, we have to say this.
Okay.
So we were doing this all long distance because I was still in another state. Anne was here. So I came out for the newspaper convention. But then I ended up with a job transfer that brought me back to the Kansas City area. So then we're thinking, oh, now we can really fly with this. And pandemic,
yeah. And in the meantime, I was frantically trying to research the best market methods. How do we connect with our potential audiences? I think I signed up for, funnel building and all kinds of things that I could not find the time to research and really get into because I started publishing people's books. And believe me, that has kept me so busy. I started out in 2014 publishing my own memoir of my newspaper experiences. It was a collection of my columns from the 27 years I was in the business.
Which is a great book. You should read it.
Mostly humor columns.
Isn't it called the same as the column? Letters from Home?
Letters from Home.
If you don't have a copy, you need to get a hold of one. It's hilarious.
Thanks for the ad, Cheri.
She's kind of like Irma Bombeck. I tell her that all the time.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, after I published that book, I decided, okay, I was just at the beginning of the self-publishing emergence, and people were learning that it was fairly simple through CreateSpace to get a book published and market it and sell it on your own. So I started helping other people, started getting other clients, and now I'm at the point where I've published about 27 books for other people, and I'm getting to the point that I am ready to kind of pull back from that because I don't have time to do my own writing projects. So, but in the meantime, Cheri has quit her 9 to 5.
I did.
To dedicate herself full-time to writing. She has, how many manuscripts do you have?
43 at this point.
43
manuscripts. I need to get written before I die.
And not all of them are memoir, but quite a few of them are.
Some of them are, yeah.
So I think both of us are motivated by the need to help other people and draw out their stories.
Well, yeah, and when we moved back to the Kansas City area, my husband and I bought a house specifically that had this huge basement because my vision was to hold memoir groups in my house and have people come over, and we'd have treats, and once a month a particular memoir group would meet, and so we'd have multiple groups throughout the time, and we finally got that ready, and COVID hit. Just a few, yeah. so it was like, okay. And then we had a broken water pipe that destroyed it all, so now we've just reassembled that basement. But the reality is that people are concerned about getting together in groups now, right? So
they are.
So memoir groups, as we foresaw them happening, I'm not sure that's where this is all headed.
Not for the time being. In fact, I was holding a memoir group in a local church near Topeka, Kansas, and COVID just stopped it dead. We had about almost 10 people that were coming to these memoir groups, and they were loving it. They were pulling their stories out, and when we would meet as a group, it was almost like a group therapy session because people got so much healing, and they got the accountability that they needed to continue to write their memoirs.
Well, it kind of became like a competition, like, you know, stay on top of it better than your neighbor.
Well, I don't know about that, but anyway, it was a great group, and I've done 3 of these groups now, memoir groups. So what we're seeing now with COVID, with people being fearful of getting together in groups, is that we're going to have to take this business on the virtual road, basically. We have plans to develop a course and plans to develop probably some personal coaching that would take an individual through video interviews or audio interviews, would take them through the major stories of their lives. And it could result in a standalone video. It could result in a book that we would help them publish. But that's where we are right now. So
So we want to hear from you. We want to
Absolutely.
know, you're sitting at home thinking, I should be writing my memoir. Maybe you have one of our products already, but it's sitting on the desk or on the bookshelf somewhere. How can we be of help to you? What can we do that will help you stay motivated to write your stories one at a time? Or maybe all in one big mass, project that you want to get done before Christmas. I don't know what people are thinking at this point. Because so many of us with COVID, like for me, I thought I would have a lot of time on my hands being at home, but
didn't work out that way.
Because of the remodel we had to do. But even now, I'm harvesting my garden and things, and so I don't necessarily have these huge blocks of time to write, but I have little pieces. So my question is, do you want a podcast? Do you want a course where you can log in when you have time at 3:00 in the morning and find us? What's going to work for you, and what kinds of things would help you the most? That's what I want to know.
And basically, even more elemental than that is, do you feel a need to do this? We see it in our own lives. We see it in the lives of people that have gone before us. We see it in people's urgency to do their genealogy, to do a family history. And a lot of times we have loved ones who, they're not in good health. They may be in a nursing home or, at the end of their lives.
I just had a really good friend. We had a good friend who died of COVID, and he's got like this bookshelf. I'm thinking it's like 10 feet long of journals of 50 years of his life. Well, guess what's happening now? The family's wondering, should we give one family member one volume and another family member another volume? And I'm saying, no. Don't separate those. But I know that his goal had been to go through his 50 years of journals and write his history so that when he died, it would be available to whoever wanted it in that history format. And then the journals could just be held by someone in the family. So I don't know what they're going to choose to do with that, but boy, it caused me to think. It caused me to think about all my journals, and do I want my journals parsed out? Oh, do I even want people reading
to read it?
Some of
yeah,
my
no
journals?
kidding. I'm going to have to censor mine before I get rid of them.
But yeah, so I'm thinking I better get on this because I have lung issues. I could have COVID. I could come down with. I'm not saying I do, but
okay.
But yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it's caused us all to think, I think, a little bit more about preserving what we know and what we want to pass on.
And one thing that I want to point out, I hear so often people say, I'm so average, I don't have any stories worth preserving. That is not true. Absolutely not true. Every one of us has a story. I learned that in journalism school way back in the early 1970s. We all have stories, and we've got to get them out. Why? Because we have lessons that need to be shared with the world, with
so
our
that people
relatives.
don't make the same mistakes we did.
Do what?
So people don't make the same mistakes we did.
Oh, yeah.
Or so that they can move past challenges more easily than we did, or, whatever. Things that will help others to have a better quality of life.
And you will be amazed if you start culling through your memories, if you start recording them, you're going to open your mouth at how many things you have learned and how much you have grown. I'm just constantly amazed how writing, just the process of writing, and I'm talking about physical writing, handwriting, and this may not hold any appeal for people younger than Cheri and I, but handwriting is a creative process, and there's something physical about it that pulls things from your brain onto the paper. And we had a person who used our system say, I can't believe how many things I'm remembering, you know, things that I would have forgotten years ago. So it's just...
Well, and not even just the memories, but how they tie together. That, for me, that's what it's been. When I write by hand, it's different than typing on the computer. I can type 100 words a minute, and I do type all the time. But when I take the time to write something by hand, I'm more carefully choosing the words because it's more laborious to do that. But as I'm choosing the words and I'm taking the time to write them, the connections are happening in the brain. There's enough time where my brain is not occupied as I'm writing the next word that it can go, oh yeah, and see how this relates to that.
Absolutely. And I have to share a personal story here that is a little bit painful, but it took me filling out an application for an annulment through the church to realize where I'd come from and why my marriage failed. It just, you get in touch with yourself through culling your memories and recording them. And I mean, I finally forgave myself for being such an idiot. And I was able to see, okay, well, the reason I had such a dysfunctional marriage, the roots of it were back in my childhood and how I was raised in a completely dysfunctional home. So, you know, the process of writing memoir will get you in touch with yourself. I think you may learn to forgive yourself if you have something to forgive. And it will just amaze you.
And you'll see how much you've grown. That's another thing that comes to me is like I see, wow, I have grown a lot since I wrote that. Or since I experienced that. Look at all these other things that have taught me, you know, to appreciate this more or to look at things in a different way or those kinds of things. We just expand our knowledge and our understanding as we get older, but unless you're recording it, you may not realize how far you've come.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I see Nyla joined us and Colleen, and I'm sure there are people that I missed, but glad you joined us. This recording will be available in the Memoir Mentors group page, so you can, if you've missed the first part of it, you can go back and watch it as soon as it posts to the group page. So,
and please don't forget to post what you need from us.
Yes, tell us what you need.
We really want to know.
In the comments section on this video, once it gets posted, please share with us what your feelings are about recording your own personal history. We need that input so that we can fashion things, build things that will benefit you and help you along this path. So, anything else, Cheri?
Just be safe. And I'm sorry, you have to wear the mask.
Yes. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.